Welcome everyone to our YouTube video for today. My name is Dimitrov.
And my name is DimitrovBoelee.
And we're the DimitrovBoelee piano duo. Today we're going to talk about the famous Clementi Sonatina op.36 number 1 in C major. We would like to focus on the tempo today because we hear so many of our students starting in one tempo and then later on changing it, and we would like to solve this problem. The most common change of tempo we see is starting very fast and then slowing down later on. So before we begin with the video, make sure to download the digital score we've provided for you. The link will be in the description box below. The reason that so many of our students change the tempo is because they're used to listening to the final version of the piece. Most of the time when you like a piece, you're used to hearing it from famous people or people who are already accomplished and can play the piece. So in your head, you have the final version. And when you begin playing it, you cannot simply expect that you can start at that final tempo. You have to start slower.
It also means that we don't consciously realize so well what are our skills at the moment, and we're just blindly copying what we want to be playing instead of what we're actually capable of playing. Very often with pieces, the first few bars are actually pretty easy and the difficult parts come later. And with this piece it's the same. The first few bars, after a bit of practice, will actually be pretty easy to play in the tempo immediately. They're not that challenging. A lot of students can play that really easily in the tempo, but then they get into trouble when later the real difficult parts start.
And so you need to make sure that you're always conscious about the way you're playing, so actually your piece develops very well balanced, and also your skills.
So in this video we're going to focus on two things. First, we're going to focus on how do you see where you are at the moment, how do you actually perceive what are your skills, and second of all we're going to show you how to make sure that the piece develops equally, so not some parts faster and some parts slower.
The first thing we're going to do is actually practice with the metronome. That's very important because the metronome will keep track. You'll be able actually to keep track of where you are with the tempo. When you hear the constant ticking of the metronome, you can't speed up or slow down because you will know right away. How do we pick a tempo? Well, we're not going to pick a tempo from the beginning because, like we mentioned already, the beginning is easier. So you will naturally be able to pick a faster tempo. We're going to pick a tempo later on. So for example, bar 7 would be a great place to pick our tempo and choose a metronome marking because we have these long runs of 8 notes. And here we have the left hand having a difficult spot. Then again the left hand. And as you can see, we have those long runs of the right hand at the last few bars. In this way, you make sure that you actually can play everything in the same tempo. Now let me show you exactly the process I would go through in order to select the right tempo for me. Now let's say that I actually want to play in 80. That's what I think that I'm capable of. So I set the metronome marking on 80. That will be for every half note, we'll get one tick of the metronome, like this. And I start playing from the beginning of the piece. As you can hear, I'm not able to maintain the same tempo from bar 7. I'm starting to have troubles. I'm starting to have problems. And so what I'm going to do now is basically look for a tempo that is possible for me to play. And I discover that actually the best tempo for me would be 65 starting in bar 7. So instead of 80, I drop it to 65. This is 65, again for half notes. And then I realize that that's possible for me. That's how I discover the right tempo. This is just an example of what I'm doing. For everybody, the tempo would be different. So it doesn't have to be 80 or 65 for you. It can be a different tempo. The most important is that you see I'm being conscious that after bar 7, I can't maintain tempo 80 and so I dropped the metronome marking.
By looking at these trickier passages, we've actually discovered that our skills are not up to where we want them to be. We wanted to play the piece in 80, but we're actually only able to play on 65 if we want to keep a steady tempo, and that's of course what is necessary. And after realizing this, after realizing consciously where are you, let's go explore how to get to tempo 80 now. And we do this by focusing on these particular trickier bars from bar 7 on, because if we focus on the beginning, that's a waste of time. You can play that already in tempo 80. So let's look now from bar 7 on.
Now I'm going to begin in bar number 7, but what I'm going to do is very important. I'm going to isolate only the 8th notes in tempo 65. So we are setting the metronome on 65 for half notes, and I'm isolating only the 8th notes. Let me show you, starting in bar 7. As you saw, I'm playing only the 8th notes. I skip the quarter notes because I don't need them right now.
This exercise will help you focus on your 8 notes and realize very consciously when you're ready to up the tempo, because that is our goal. Up the tempo in slow steps. When you reach tempo 80 this way, drop your metronome tempo again, because we're going to now play both hands together. Because this of course is more difficult, it is more difficult to play with 2 hands than with 1, we're going to drop our tempo again. Start at 65, our starting point, and start increasing slowly with the metronome until you reach 80 with both hands this time.
Do this not only with this section from bar 7, but any section that you find difficult in this first movement. Now one more thing, what can slow you down more specifically can be the left hand. We hear so often our students actually playing this left hand extremely heavy. And then the next part. Those 2 bars in particular present quite a challenge to many of our students. And so we thought it would be interesting to mention an exercise that you can do in order to prevent yourself from playing so heavy. So we want to take those 2 bars, only those 2 bars, and practice them like this. We're going to place a little accent on the first note, on the F sharp, and then after that we're going to play soft everything else. Then we move on to the other bar, we place a little accent on the A, and then we are playing everything soft afterwards. Let me show you once more without me talking so you can hear what exactly I'm doing.
Now we've been working a lot in this video with metronome, but this is the one exercise you shouldn't start with metronome. You should take the time that you need in order to make the difference between the accented note and then the soft note. You can even take a little pause between the accented note and the D, like this. Taking the time you need to change dynamics, to change your touch before you go on. The same for the next one. Make sure you control the next note before you play it.
Definitely don't feel pressure to keep tempo. That's not an exercise that you need to maintain one and the same tempo. At some point you will be able, but not in the beginning. Don't force it.
That was all for today. If you have any questions about this piece or any other piece, feel free to ask, because we'd love to help you out.
Make sure to check also our complete courses on Udemy and Skillshare. The links you'll find in the description box below. You can follow us as well on Instagram and Facebook. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to be informed when we upload a new video. For us, it was a great pleasure, and we'll see you next Sunday.